Hi, this is Seth with Alliance, and I'm here with Justin with Fireside Games.
Hello, everybody.
So you have something to show us today, huh?
I do. I have a couple things to show you. We are very excited that after about 3 years of work, we are releasing the second edition of Castle Panic.
Wonderful.
Yep, so it's been our bestseller for over a decade now, and it is basically getting a new coat of paint. If you like Castle Panic, this is basically Castle Panic with new art. If you haven't heard of it before, it's a cooperative tower defense game where everyone is going to be trying to play cards together to hit monsters in different parts of this board. We have some cards out here. You can see there's red, green, and blue, and then we have swordsman, knight, and archers. You're going to work together as a team, cooperating, trading cards, playing them to hit these monsters to try and keep this castle alive, make it through this pile of monsters over here, because at the end of every player's turn, monsters that are still alive all come closer to the castle, and you'll draw 2 new ones out from a pile of monsters. Sometimes it'll be monster effects, like in this case, all the swordsmen have the plague and got discarded. Other times it will be a monster, and when you have a monster, you roll the die. It will show up in the arc that is numbered, so it's a conveyor belt of monsters coming out randomly like that.
That
he happens to be a boss monster who has extra powers, but we won't spoil everything right now. The basic game works from 1 to 6 players, just like it always has. The biggest thing now is we've done some graphic design upgrades. We've made the art more interesting, more diverse, more inclusive. We've got better graphic design on the board and the cards to make things easier to see. And otherwise, everything's got a nice, fresh coat of paint, much brighter, better curb appeal. So we're very excited for that. Like I said, you win the game if you have at least 1 tower left and all the monsters are dead. You lose if the monsters take out all 6 of your towers. What we're really excited about, though, is this little guy right here.
Oh, yeah?
So, yeah, for the first time in about, 4 or 5 years now, we have a new expansion for Castle Panic.
That's
so
awesome.
It's coming out as part of the second edition, so it matches this new art look, and it's called Crowns and Quests, and it brings 2 very exciting new things to the game. First off, it brings characters. I'll hold these up for y'all. You can get a little close look if you need to. So there's 12 different characters you can pick from. The game plays up to 6 players, so that's a lot of replayability there, and they all have a cool ability that they get. The thing that's crazy is you're going to get assigned to one of these towers. So if I were Sir Ignacio here, and I'm assigned to this tower number 6, that's great. I have this great ability unless the monsters get in and destroy my tower, in which case I no longer have the ability. I'm just playing Castle Panic without this awesome power now.
Okay.
So that's why you want to keep characters alive. This brings a lot of interesting meat to the game. But the second half of the Crowns and Quests is the quests, and that's where things get even crazier. So there are 18 different quests that you can pick from when you're playing the game, and you're always going to pick them in a sequence of 2. You're going to pick one of the standard ones that have this brown background, and then you're going to pick one of these endgame quests with the orange background. These all have basically little mini adventures you're going to go on now. So as a team, you're going to have to survive this in order to get to this, because the big change now is how the game ends. Instead of beating these monsters and winning the game, you have to now defeat both of these quests.
Oh, okay. That
Otherwise,
sounds great.
this pile of monsters is going to come over and over again. And there's all sorts of crazy stuff. I pulled 2 here that are kind of some of my favorites. This one's called the Creeping Evil. And what it means is on a new phase in the game where you're taking care of the quest, you're going to roll the die and put out these little apocalypse stones. They're little 2-point stones that are going to show up. Not so scary on their own, except the way they work is they're the new spawn points for the monsters. So now if I roll a 6, I don't put a monster in the forest, I put it here. And if during the phase when I'm putting out these stones, I roll one where it already exists, I don't add a new one, I move it closer to the castle. So now monsters spawn here.
That's a great change.
It's terrifying, yes. The goal of this quest is literally to survive this. There's 6 of these stones you have to destroy. As soon as you break those, you've won this quest. You'll get a little reward, which gets you ready for the really scary part, which is the end game quest. So the thing now is it's do or die based on this quest. You're either going to win this quest or lose the game entirely because it's going to try and destroy you. This is the Siege of Lord Volkar. And Lord Volkar is this big scary guy down here. The only way we beat him as a team is if we pay cards to this quest. We have to pay 6 archers, 5 knights, and 4 swordsmen. They can be any color, but when they're on this tile, they're out of play. They don't get shuffled, they don't get brought back in, they're just there. And meanwhile, he starts spawning these 2-point attack tokens from the edge of the board that are magical blasts. And on their own, like I said, it's just a 2-point monster, right? But they just keep coming in like this closer to your castle. The trick is, when you destroy them, because they can be hit and destroyed, they just respawn back in the forest forever and ever. And if they hit your castle, they do damage equal to their health in terms of destroyed pieces. So 2 points means you've lost your wall and your tower. And remember, that's your life points. When they're gone, the game's over. The only way to beat him is to pay those cards. We have to fight these off long enough to survive, but we really need to focus on him. And that's just 2 of the quests. Like I said, there's a ton of them in here. We've got special quests where you're looking for magic scrolls. Maybe you're dealing with a whole bunch of trolls that are coming out. There's a villain in the distance that throws boulders out of the forest that come out. So we've added a lot to this now. This is a whole bunch of new stuff to bring to Castle Panic, and we're really excited. Both of these are going to be in stores November 30th, along with a big box. So we are bringing back the all-in-one Castle Panic thing, which includes this new expansion and some promos that old promos plus one new one, and that'll all be available or in stores November 30th. Then we'll be releasing Wizard's Tower, Dark Titan, and Engines of War in this new art style. Those are all the expansions we've had before. They'll be out January, February, March. So we're kind of rolling the whole line out with a big new fancy release, and we're pretty excited.
Well, how long does an average game of this last?
So an average game of base Castle Panic is going to be about 45 minutes. When you add the expansions, we bump that out to around 60 just because there's a little more bookkeeping and, adventuring to do. So yeah.
And how many people can play at one time?
You can play solitaire or up to 6 players on all the games. The games and the expansions all support that number of players.
Wonderful. And is there a recommended age range?
We are recommending 8 and up, and we feel that at that point, players can probably play on their own. Once they've had the game taught to them, they might actually be able to play on their own. If you have gamer kids that know what they're doing, they can probably go even younger, but, it's around there. There is some reading involved, especially on the quests and things. So, yeah.
Well, how much will this game cost?
Castle Panic is $34.95, and Crowns and Quests is $29.95, and then the big box is going to be $119.95. And again, that's got all 5 games and the promos in it.
Well, Justin, where can people go to find more information about the game?
The best place is going to be to go straight to firesidegames.com. We've got all our good information up there. We do make some pretty fun TikToks if you want to see any of those. And then Twitter and Facebook are the other places we post stuff. We have a newsletter, too, if people want to sign up, and not very spammy, mostly really good information about all these kind of details. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Justin, for showing us Castle Panic.
Thank you for having me.
And when you're ready to get a copy for yourself, head to your local friendly game store.